Welcome to Airborne on staugustine.com. I'm Matt Jeffs, bringing interesting people from your world so you can stay dialed into your community and the folks who make it tick. I want to welcome to Airborne Joe Pickens, president of St. Johns River Community College. Welcome, Joe. How are you?
I'm good, and thank you for having me.
May I call you Joe? Is it okay? Or President Pickens? What do you prefer?
Those are fine. In my political career, I was called a lot worse than either of those, and so I appreciate both of those.
And how have you been finding the work at St. John's? I know you've been there now. How long? This has been a transition.
About a year and a half.
And you're finding yourself warming up to the role?
I am. It really took a little while. Mm-hmm. You know, Dr. McClendon cast a very big shadow, having been at the college and been the president for 32 years. And so really about fall of 2009, when the first freshman class came in where I was the president, mm-hmm.
I
took over in November in the middle of a year. Really is when I started feeling like, I was at the helm, of the ship, and we've started making some changes that really do have my fingerprints on them. And
mm-hmm.
so it's been really nice settling in, and it's been really nice not spending weeks and months in Tallahassee, every year.
That's got to be liberating. We've noticed a lot of the counselors and officials at St. Johns River Community College wearing a lapel pin now mm-hmm. that says choose St. Johns River Community College or choose SJRCC first.
Mm-hmm.
What do we mean by that?
Well, when I gave my first kind of state of the college address,
right,
and I said, yes, 5 years from now, I hope that we have bachelor's degrees in certain limited areas, and we will.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that we have an articulation agreement of 2+2 with the University of North Florida to really make the transition from the first 2 years to the bachelor's degree, if you're not getting your bachelor's degree at St. John's, very seamless, and we will.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that we have, some additional facilities and offer some new programs, and we will.
Mm-hmm.
But I said, really what I want at the end of my 5 years is to have done something toward changing the culture that exists, that going to community college is the default choice.
Yeah.
You can always, if you can't go somewhere else, you can always go to the community college. Well, that's true. You can, because we are open access, and we take everyone, with a high school diploma or a GED.
Mm-hmm.
And we are perfectly prepared to provide developmental courses, remediation courses, if you will, for those that aren't quite college ready. And we're going to talk about that, I hope, a little bit later.
Right.
Having been the school board attorney in Putnam County for 17 years, my children have all gone through the Putnam County public school system. My wife's a public school teacher. I'm aware that, and just from listening to my children and their friends, that, and even talking to some teachers, that there is, for some, an opinion that if you can go somewhere else, then you ought to, at all costs. And oftentimes, Matt, those costs are significant. There are students that have the academic maturity to go off to college and be on their own, but maybe not the other types of maturity that it takes.
Right.
And so that may not be the best thing for them.
Mm-hmm.
There are some that can learn in a freshman class of 300 students, and others that probably would be better off in smaller classes. And so what I would like people to consider is that, especially with the changes that we're making at St. John's, that St. John's River Community College should be a college, maybe not the for everyone, but a college of first choice, where your classes are smaller, where you are getting the individualized attention that you deserve,
mm-hmm.
where your teacher, in fact, does know your name and is available to you for whatever you need, where you are able to live at home and save the money that you would be paying for room and board,
mm-hmm.
or for travel if you're driving back and forth, and where you can have an extra year of perhaps a little parental supervision, whether you like it or not. And for many of us, and I know I was one of those, that would have been a good idea. There are too often students who go off to college, aren't successful, and end up coming back home, and it's our job to then make them successful.
Right.
Previously, students just showed up at the community college with their diploma in hand and their FCAT passage, in their history books, thinking that they were ready for college. And so, as a matter of fact, and I think that I'll be doing billboards, one day for this. I don't know if y'all have the ability to put this up, but my message is to literally, Matt, 70% of high school graduates.
Right.
Did you know that passing the FCAT and getting a high school diploma does not equal being college or career ready?
My goodness.
And in fact, 60 to 70% of the students that go to a community college in the United States, this is not a St. John's phenomena or a Florida phenomena, it's nationwide.
In terms of what the colleges have to offer, the community colleges, there's some gulfs in earning potential, aren't there, between even a 2-year degree versus just a high school degree, and even between a 4-year degree. Can you alliterate a little bit for us that topic? And I have another graph if I'm allowed to hold it up.
And
here.
I wish you would. This is one case where a picture, is worth at least 1,000 words. And what we have here is a graph that shows the average first-year earnings of students that graduate with a high school diploma or graduate, with an AA degree or an AS degree or a degree from a state university or from a community college or the Florida college system as we are going to become. And what the chart says, in no uncertain terms, seeing is believing,
right,
is that just going to college isn't enough. Completing is important.
Right.
Getting an AA degree or getting an AS degree doubles your income potential over having a high school diploma.
Wow.
Doubles it in the very first year. Also, in my last year in the legislature, I was part of the expanding of the ability of the community college system to offer bachelor's degrees. Mm-hmm. And we at St. John's have made application, and actually just a week ago, we were approved by the State Board of Education to offer our first 2 bachelor's degrees. The first is in early childhood education, which is pre-K through 3, mm-hmm. and the second is a Bachelor of Organizational Management. And it has actually 3 tracks, so it's essentially a Bachelor of Administration, but a more practical one as opposed to the theoretical, Bachelor of Administration that people typically got and then went on to graduate school.
Right.
And the 3 areas of concentration are public health and the private sector, and then just the public sector. So if you were interested in hospital or nursing home administration or any management area within the health field, you can concentrate in that. If you're interested in the private sector, then there is a private sector concentration. And the third is if you're interested in the public sector, which could be anything from law enforcement to the clerk of court to tax collector, anything that is in the public arena in mid-level administration. So 3 different tracks that students can concentrate in.
That's a big step now. We're actually getting into 4-year tracks now, right here at the community college level.
We met last week, and it's my expectation that we will recommend to the Board of Trustees that they authorize us to commence offering bachelor's degrees in January. So our first class of upper-level students is probably going to be January of 2011. It is possible, Matt, that it is not until August, but my faculty and my staff are very interested in starting it sooner rather than later. And the classes will be of a hybrid nature. What we find is the case with many of our students is that they have restrictions on their time.
Right.
They're place-bound because of work commitments, family commitments, sometimes both, oftentimes both. And they don't have the ability to drive, 3 times a week to somewhere to take classes for 3 hours a night.
Right.
So the hybrid concept will have classes occasionally meeting in the traditional classroom setting, mm-hmm. but much of the instruction will be online through distance learning. Mm-hmm. So they can literally learn from anywhere. But it will be, I think, better than a pure online class because there will be a certain number of traditional classroom opportunities, especially probably for examinations and that type of thing, assessments.
Right.
But the idea is to make it as accessible to our potential students in all 3 counties as possible.
Joe Pickens, Thank you so much for coming in. This is great stuff. I'm so happy to have you here and to tell us about all the fascinating things going on at St. John's River Community College. If folks want to learn more, is there a good website or anything that they might be able to address?
There is, and it's I can maneuver it, and so that means it's pretty easy to maneuver. And it's www.sjrcc, St. John's River Community College.edu. And there's any information that anyone would ever want is available, you know, on that website or a portal that is linked from it.
President Joe Pickens, thank you so much for getting airborne with us on staugustine.com.
Well, somebody that you know, has a fear of flying, this airborne was okay.
That's great. Thank you again. You've been airborne with Matt Jeffs on staugustine.com, bringing interesting people from your world so you can stay dialed into your community and the folks who make it tick. See you next time, everybody.
Airborne rocks.